Welcome to Don't Quote Me on That. One day we will have an intro, but today is not that day. Hello, hello, hello. This is Elanor.
And this is Kalina.
And welcome back to Don't Quote Me on That.
Yes.
Which is the name of our show.
And it has been the entire time.
And it has been the entire time, and I've known that the entire time. This is a show where we kind of talk about movies, and today we're really putting in the movies into that kind of talking about movies.
Mm-hmm.
We decided for the kickoff of spooky season.
Don't ever make that face again as long as you live. I'm so sorry. What was that?
No, no, actually, I do that in real life a lot. And
I know. I was editing the last episode, and I didn't, sometimes I'd be talking to the camera, so I wasn't looking at you on FaceTime, and the faces you were making.
I have a lot of emotions.
Me too, you don't see them.
Well, that's different. That's because of who you are as a person.
Yeah.
Anyway, we went for I think legally this is a horror movie. I don't know.
I have thoughts about that.
But anyway, we were talking about Lisa Frankenstein. I tried to pull a tagline. One of the taglines was, "She's slaying, he's decaying." And I thought that was so stupid that I just took the movie description from Google instead. Which is a misunderstood teenager and a reanimated Victorian corpse embark on a murderous journey together to find love, happiness, and a few missing body parts. Which, yeah, that is what happens. Good job.
Somebody watch the movie. Also, before we get into it, here's my microphone. Again, it doesn't work.
Here's mine.
It's busted on one side.
It is, a little tiny microphone connected to a shoehorn because I need something to hold. Do some facts and figures. By facts and figures, I mean 2 facts. Movie came out in February 2024. February, I feel like, is a weird month for this movie to have come out, but...
No, it's I disagree with the horror definition, okay? Although, I guess it depends on whose perspective you're watching it from. If you are watching it from the protagonist's perspective, this is a rom-com, is what this is.
It really is. You know what?
Homegirl is in a rom-com in her head.
You're right. February is
the
the right month for this. This movie was written by Diablo Cody, who also wrote Jennifer's Body. And according to her, this is set in the JBCU, which is, of course, the Jennifer's Body cinematic universe.
Which I live in every day.
That's where I want to live, so I'm happy about it. This was directed by a Nepo baby, Robin Williams' daughter, who...
Oh.
I think people know Robin Williams from, being an actor of, a lot of things. I only know him... The only thing I've ever seen him in is an episode of SVU, which I feel like does not give me the right cultural understanding of him.
Robin Williams was in Dead Poet Society. And Jumanji. And Mrs. Doubtfire. Good Will Hunting.
These are all things I know exist.
I think we should move on.
Also, disappointingly, apparently the title is not a Lisa Frank reference. It's an homage to some other bodybuilding, and by bodybuilding I mean putting parts together to make a man kind of film, which I guess also works.
I had a rough start today, guys, so I'm gonna need a minute to get into it.
Okay. Well, unfortunately, we're already kind of in it, so...
That's what you're here for.
That is true. I'm gonna just keep going.
Okay.
We have picked, I think, 5 or 6 different topics to give us a semblance of structure, which I do think is something that
we might benefit from.
Yes. Me specifically will.
Some may say.
Some may say. The first thing we're going to talk about is the cinematography.
Mm-hmm.
Because, just so everybody knows, once again, we were film students in college. One of us did better than the other one.
Define better than the other one.
Has seen movies.
Oh, okay, yeah. One of us definitely did better than the other one.
So, not Jennifer's Body. Wrong movie. Lisa
Actually, let's talk about Jennifer's Body. Great.
Let's do that,
movie.
actually. Fantastic movie.
No notes.
I will say, one thing that I like in that movie that this movie was missing is lesbian overtones, undertones, tones at all.
Mm-hmm.
There was like, I think where Jennifer's Body has like kind of a will they won't they between two hot best friends, this movie weirdly has a will they won't they between a stepdaughter and stepdad, which I didn't love.
Yeah, I was really worried that was gonna, like, this movie it had a lot of things where I was like, oh, this is gonna go really badly, and like thankfully it didn't, but the turn it did take was also confusing.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed it. But
do you want to give like a real quick synopsis of the movie?
Okay, spoilers included?
I do think those are gonna come up anyway, so yeah.
Alright, if you haven't watched Lisa Frankenstein,
Stop now.
halt. Spoilers ahead. Okay, so we open on a what I called a corpse bride-esque opening credit sort of scene. It was very cute. We're introduced. There's no talking. It's all black and white. These little like figures, right? This guy, Victorian era, he plays the piano. He falls in love. Homegirl falls in love with somebody else. He dies tragically. His tombstone says unmarried, which is crazy, right? We flash forward. We're in a cemetery. Someone is taking impressions of the tombstones. The impression she's taken of the tombstone says Lisa Frankenstein. Boom. We're at the title card. Okay. Lisa Frankenstein is getting ready for a party. She's got big hair. It's the 80s. We're having a dandy time. She's not having a dandy time. She looks like she would rather be literally anywhere else. Stepsister comes in. Her stepsister is probably the most beautiful woman I've ever seen in my life. Her stepsister's like, listen, you gotta come to this party. She's like, I don't know. Then her stepsister's like, we should go, you should tan. That'll make you feel better. The tanning bed electrocutes her. They're driving to the party. At the party, Lisa Frankenstein sees this guy she has a crush on. His name's Michael Trent. Michael Trent's friend, whom I hate now, drugs her on accident. Or on purpose? It's still unclear. Lisa's out of it. Her lab partner's like, oh my god, come, let me help you out. We'll get you someplace quiet. We can sit down. Takes her upstairs. First warning bell going off, okay?
Mm-hmm.
He does some unwanted groping, is what I will call it. Lisa goes, oh, that's crazy, and runs out, okay? We end up in the cemetery. We end up home. We smash a mirror. We go to sleep. As we're falling asleep, boom, lightning strikes the cemetery. What could it be? We meet Lisa's stepmom. Her stepmom sucks.
Insane lady. Lisa's
home alone. Because they're the other, so it's Lisa, her stepmom, her stepsister, and her dad. The three of them go to the movies. Lisa goes, I don't really want to come, no thanks. Someone from the cemetery shows up. Lightning brought him back to life. Lisa freaks out for maybe 5 minutes tops, to be honest with you. Not long enough in my professional opinion.
Yeah, she really gets over it quick. And it's not like a full guy yet. He's half statue, half guy at this point.
I don't think he's half statue. I think he's just covered in dirt. Because then they go outside to the sprinklers. Because the first I did a rewatch. I did half a rewatch this morning. And the first time I was like, how did he go from not being able to see? It was what happened when he went outside to the sprinklers. Anyway, he's covered in dirt because he dug his way up from the earth. Okay? She's like surprisingly chill with it, not too long. She's like, we got to give you a shower though, because when you smell horrible, give him a shower. We have this fun little like montage outfit sequence. So she keeps shoving him in the closet. He gets dressed. He's Cole Sprouse. We hear Lisa's stepmom yelling at her. Lisa goes to school. The creature played by Cole Sprouse has dressed her. She looks hot. She comes home. Stepmom's mad at her. Creature kills stepmom. We bury stepmom. Then we sew an ear onto him.
Yes, thank you. Yes, he does harvest her ear.
Yes, he's missing an ear and a hand. So while she's dead, he's like, wow. And then he chops off an ear with a giant diamond earring on it. They go to school the next day. She's dressed again. Right. And then some other stuff happens. Okay, I'm gonna fast forward a little bit. No, Elanor, go ahead. You can take over.
Yeah, so now she dresses like Love and Respect in 80s Halloween horror. I stand by using that word, I'm sorry. I don't remember what word she uses, but it is a slang term that means the same thing. It's geezer. Not hussy, but thank you. Yes, geezer. And then she puts a note in the locker, and we're led to believe that it's for the hot boy from the party, and then it's not. It's from the lab partner, and they kill him and then cut his hand off because kind of, I think, revenge for groping, perhaps. And then she puts his hand on the creature, and then now the creature has a hand that works.
Oh, also, sorry, slight thing I forgot. Every time we've attached a body part to the creature, we have to go electrocute him in the tanning bed so that the body parts work properly.
Exactly, to really get it in there.
This will be very important later.
And then we kill him, and then Lisa is like, you know what? My life is way too short. She's 17? Her life is way too short. She decides that she doesn't want to die a virgin and wants to go canoodle with the hot guy from the party. Goes to the hot guy from the party's house. He's in bed with the stepsister. And then we have what I believe to be the funniest death in the entire movie. The creature comes in behind her and then hatchets off hot guy's appendage while he's literally in bed with the stepsister. And then the stepsister, like, is kind of just zoned out the rest of the movie, understandably, because her maybe boyfriend just got sex murdered. He's dead now. The creature saves the appendage and just kind of holds it with him. And then he leaves.
Mystery tool we'll need later.
The girls leave. And they go to the cemetery because the creature goes there and Lisa follows him. And the creature's standing at the grave. And Lisa comes up and is like, okay, we're going to boink right now because I will not be dying a virgin. And he's like, I can't. He doesn't talk yet, but he does. He
doesn't talk up to this point. He can't speak.
He goes, I can't because I don't have... And she's like, you don't need one of those to be a man. Which, like, correct. I do think you need one of those to do the activity she's envisioning in the way that she is envisioning it. And then we get a scene that's too romantic for me to be normal about, where she is sewing back, or not back on, but she's sewing on hot guy from the party's appendage to the corpse's body. And then they have to go bake it in the tanning bed.
I shouldn't have watched this movie. I should have just made you explain the plot of this movie to me.
And then once it's baked, they do it. And then after they do it...
Also weirdly romantic.
Weirdly romantic, and we get a little cute callback. They do the same kind of sepia, black and white, animated scene to convey the message of them having sex. Where they're riding on a rocket together. And then they do that. And then after that, they're like, okay, well, I'm definitely going to get arrested for murder now, and you're a reanimated corpse that I don't think the cops are going to be cool with. So he kills her, but it's also like assisted suicide. Womp womp.
In the tanning bed.
Yes, in the tanning bed.
Life and death.
It goes to max bronze, and she gets bronzed out of life.
That was fantastic. Reanimated corpse and murderer, I think, is our relationship dynamic as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I love it.
Me too.
I don't think I'd sew anything onto you, though.
Why not?
You're a wimp.
You know what? That's a good point. Thank you.
If I had to hear you complain more than once about the hand you asked me to put on, you're not getting it. Sorry.
You know what? That's fair. I don't think I could sit through that quietly. I would say owie all the time, and then you'd hit me. Or I think there's a world where you would like jab a needle into my eye, but then you'd also have to reattach an eye to me, and then it would just keep going forever. The film is set in I think specifically 89, but I'm not sure.
80s.
80s. They had a vision with the 80s thing, and they really stuck to it in a way that was delightfully campy, I would say.
I like the 80s as a setting. I think, like, I don't know, I don't feel like this film had to have been set in the 80s, you know what I mean? Like, it could have been,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, it could have been, like, a different time period, but I feel like the 80s gives you so much freedom. Like, color-wise, especially, that's my big thing with the cinematography. It's so colorful and in your face, and you don't even have to suspend your belief that much because it's the 80s, which is nice.
Mm-hmm.
But it also, like, really keys into the soundtrack they picked then. And again, like Elanor said, the campiness. You can really play up that campiness when your setting is what it is.
And I think kind of visually it's I think Edward Scissorhands-y.
Yeah, and I also think it helps convey, like, if you want to call this like a horror, it's very gothy, which are two different ideas, but again, when we have this backdrop of the 80s now, it makes it really easy to, like, pick out Lisa as this like, different figure. She's our protagonist. It's very easy to identify her, identify the creature, identify, like, these characters that are not of the, you know, norm.
Mm-hmm. And I think having it set in the 80s makes it make more sense when people don't understand emotions.
Yeah.
Also, I think one scene that really stood out to me in terms of, like, the composition of it was the scene where she is drugged, maybe intentionally, at the party.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not quite to the level of the best ever drug scene in a film, which is, of course, 21 Jump Street.
Absolutely.
But it's a close second, and there's this really fun part where she's leaving the party, and to get home she has to walk through the cemetery, and she stays, like, walking, but the background, like, morphs slowly, where you're seeing parts of both the house and the walk in the cemetery kind of all at once.
Yeah,
and
there's, like, vines in the hallway, and then she, like, goes downstairs, and it's, like, these big, like, drapey vines or some trees. Boom, all of a sudden we're in the cemetery. I like that one as well.
And I think they did a good job with kind of having lightning be a motif throughout.
Yeah.
We get... Oh, also, forgot to mention this. Lisa's main problem is that her mom got axe murdered in front of her.
Oh, yes. Like,
which is why
this.
She had to move and has the stepmom and the stepsister and all of that.
Sorry, that is a little bit of an important...
Yeah, sorry, I did.
Point.
Mm-hmm.
Forgot that one. No, that wasn't my part of the recap, so that's my bad.
We got there. In the scene where we see the mom get axe murdered, or see kind of the build up to it, when Lisa's running away from the murderer, she hits a lamp and that sparks. And I just think that's kind of clever.
I really like that. I wish I liked the cutaway scenes they did mostly in the beginning. So like I said, the opening's kind of Corpse Bride-esque. We get another scene after the party. She, like, falls asleep and she's dreaming, and it's very, like, it looks like almost cartoony, but, like, it's her and Cole Sprouse acting out this scene of, like, they're just sitting in bed, and it's, like, black and white film. It's hard to explain, but it's, like, cute. They look like they're drawn in, but they're actually acting, and it's just kind of like a, I don't know, she's having, like, I think she's having a sex dream. That's how it manifests for whatever reason. They don't have sex. They just sit on a bed and look at the moon together, which equally romantic.
And she's in the scene. She's got, like, the big old, like, I guess Bride of Frankenstein hair with the white streak.
Yeah, and he looks like on his tombstone there's a statue and he looks like he's the statue. So really cute. And then I just wish they had carried that theme throughout I wish we had gotten more scenes like that, but I think they used it very well. I think it kind of added to the gothic-y element of the movie.
I agree. And it also felt to me, there's a part kind of before this where she's still at the party where she mentions that one of her favorite directors is a silent film director. And so doing kind of like the black and white, no dialogue, I think was a clever tie-in to that.
Yeah. And then the scene at the end where they have sex and it's like a rocket, it's like also sort of the same silent film. Not stop motion, but, you know, very like jerky looking, like Charlie Chaplin-esque, you know?
Which I think was cute. I do think, I agree with you. I feel like we lost some of the world building that they put. It was very heavy in kind of the first 20 minutes of the film.
Yeah.
And then I feel like we kind of lost connection to the universe they were building once it started being all about the murder, which, like, fair enough. I do think that is kind of the core story of the film, but it felt a little lost, and they did bring it back in the sex scene, but, like, I don't know, we could have had.
And I was trying to think of where they would bring it back, because they used it a lot as like a flashback sort of sequence, but then they didn't for the sex scene. So I feel like if they'd maybe like connected all the murders that way, or like picked a theme to be like, okay, now we're in this other world, which also kind of would have explained the detachment from reality I think was occurring. But yeah, I liked it, but I feel like it was underemployed.
I did some research, and by some research I mean I read the IMDb page for this film.
Oh boy.
Apparently it was supposed to be rated R, and they changed it to be PG-13 after it had been filmed. They had to cut and like work around what they had, and I think knowing that makes it make a little bit more sense, because I do think
it did feel like some beats weren't like,
and there were moments where I think they could have gone further in a way that would have pushed the rating up. So I don't know. I think if they were going to make a PG-13 film, they could have honed it a little bit more to work within the confines of that, instead of making an R-rated film and then shaving it down. Now, let's talk about the cast, the acting, the performance.
Eleanor and I were both
all of that.
Theater kids, so we're allowed to do this.
Yes, we were different genres of theater kids, which means we are going to give you a well-rounded critique. My first thing, I think not making him talk for the duration of the movie is the best decision that they could have made. Chiefly because me personally, and in my household, I don't know if I've loved anything I've seen Cole Sprouse in. So keeping him quiet, thank you.
I would like to read you the first note I wrote down. First time I'm watching this movie, Cole Sprouse has been on the screen for maybe 10 minutes. I said, this is the hottest Cole Sprouse has ever been. He's silent, and his hair is black. No notes.
I think almost really everybody in this film had really good like physical comedy or kind of physicality. Cole Sprouse, of course, takes the cake because that's all he had was grunts and movements for most of the film. But even kind of his movements getting more fluid as he becomes more human, I think it was very smooth, and I think he did that very, very well. And according to my research, which was very official, he practiced with a mime, which hilarious. Thank you for doing that.
Like, I don't know, for some reason I don't like I'm not a zombie fan in any capacity. I don't like how they move generally, and I think he did a really good job, because even though I was enjoying the character of the creature, I did not like watching him walk around on screen for too long. Like, there's a scene right after they bury the stepmom, and he's like just trudging his way through the grass after her. I'm like, we don't need to look. That's okay. I got it.
Yeah, very easy to get. I think the Taffy, the stepsister, perfect performance.
Mm-hmm.
I just can't her comedic timing was just on point throughout. I think she was the perfect level of like airheaded but intentional. She was my favorite character in the whole thing.
I also think a lot of the time, like we said, it's like, I guess technically a horror. So I feel like Lisa is like, Lisa thinks she's living in a rom-com. So she's playing it like she's in a rom-com. So it's like a little absurd in a way that makes sense still, but it's just a little too absurd. And then some of the other background characters were like a little too committed to, I guess they're on the end of a horror movie, not in a bad way, but like they're committed to that aspect. I feel like Taffy definitely walked the line really well between being absolutely ridiculous but still grounded enough in reality that like she seemed like a real person. It wasn't like playing it up for the sake of the movie.
Mm-hmm. There's one scene right after her boyfriend gets axe murdered in bed where Lisa has to like shuffle her out of the house and into the car, and she's just covered in blood and shell-shocked. And there's one scene where she gets out of the car and has to walk across the street, and she's just like bloody in boxers and Uggs and a big old t-shirt, just stumbling across the street. Beautiful. Mm-hmm. Fantastic. I loved it.
I think it also touches on that idea that, like, at least I feel that if you can do comedy well, you can do everything well.
Mm-hmm. I think, especially with comedy, like, when you are, like, when an actor is very, very good at comedy, you don't necessarily notice, because I think part of it is being able to kind of slot into whatever kind of scene and with the other people you are with. And so I think people might see comedy as easy because it's an easy watch, but there are so many choices and there's so much, especially timing, that goes into it that, like,
I think the best, like, the most illustrative example of this is like when actors go on SNL, because they could be your favorite actor in the world, they could be award-winning actors, but like they just cannot hit the beats that the SNL cast is setting up and like running through, right? Like some of them just can't riff like that, and then you have some that come in and like you think they're a cast member, or even like he was just on Bad Bunny. I think Bad Bunny is hilarious. I know he doesn't act, but like
fantastic.
His comedic timing is so, he just slots in there so well, and like it feels like he is just one of them.
Yeah, I use, partly because SNL is, I think, one of the only things I consistently watch, I use it as a little bit of a litmus test. If you're bad at SNL, I am less inclined to watch you in other things. Even though I know, like, live versus being on, like, having it be a recorded kind of more formal, not formal, but, like, a non-live thing, those are also different skill sets, but, like, if you're not good at SNL, I don't like you.
Yeah. But I agree. I wrote down at one point that some of the scenes felt kind of, it was like a combo of Looney Tunes-esque acting and black and white film acting, where you have to, like, kind of play up the emotions and like the facial expressions, silent film, and soap opera-y. My favorite example, I think, is after they kill Janet, he cuts her ear off and he brings the ear to Lisa, and he's like trying to get her to sew it back on. She goes, no, I couldn't possibly do that, not until we bury the body. And they both turn dramatically to look not at the camera, but like that sort of timing and movement they have, and that kind of carries out the rest of the movie.
It does. I think the physicality of the entire film, especially with Lisa, is tip-top.
Yeah.
I will say, both, like, story-wise and performance-wise, I don't really understand why we needed the dad. I know his point is that he didn't do anything, Like, he really truly didn't. He could have just been mentioned off screen the entire time and it would be the same movie.
I think I wrote down, like, at what point is it not misogynistic to hate a woman in a movie? Because the mom, like, I feel I am aware of the internalized misogyny I live with, okay? I am aware that that is something that affects the way movies are made, whether it's made by a woman, made by a man, whatever. Misogyny exists, and it does color the way characters are both written and perceived. Encoded and decoded. My favorite thing we learned, talked about that last week, right? It colors both of those things. However, the mother in this movie the stepmom sucked so badly, sucked so bad. And then there's another character, I think her name's like, don't ask me, some goth girl, right? She's like friends with Lisa's crush. Hated her. And it's like, yes, do I also hate the dad because he married this woman who's awful to his daughter and he just like doesn't care? Yes, but is it misogyny that I hate the mom more? Or is it just the stepmom more? Or is it just she's a more active, insidious force? You know?
I think the stepmom and the goth girl, who I also do not remember the name of, I think they both actively made Lisa's life harder. By the stepmom threatened to commit her, which is when she got murdered. And then the goth girl told the cops on her.
And, like, I do think we're going to talk about themes a little bit later in the movie, so I do agree in this instant it's not the misogyny, but I feel like we have to put the dad in there to make it less misogynistic, you know? Because if we don't have the dad,
yeah,
and we just have a woman on screen being awful, and there's no one who's, like, aiding and abetting her, essentially, then it does feel a little unbalanced. Oh, wait, sorry, last thing on performance, though. The crush character, his name's Michael Trent, and he gave Trader Joe's cashier energy. He's not the cutest guy you've ever seen in your life, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And, like, on paper shouldn't be so charming, but at one point he goes, "You're kind of absurd, aren't you?" And I was like, maybe.
This morning was my third time watching this movie. It did take me until this morning to realize that the cute guy is not the Stranger Things guy. They are, in fact, different guys.
They are, but which Stranger Things guy are you talking about?
The one who looks haunted?
Yeah.
He's dating the girl who looks haunted?
Yeah, no, that's fair. No, different people. But same brand of man.
Yes. And I'm just glad I'm making connections, you know? Glad I'm recognizing things.
Yes. I'm so proud.
Soundtrack. My only note about the soundtrack was that I liked it. I'm not a soundtrack girly, so I notice when things feel incredibly out of place, and I did not notice that. That's kind of the level I am qualified to talk about. And also, JoJo, who is a pop star, and also I think Diablo Cody had some sort of hand in some of JoJo's music videos, so it's cute that they came back together to work on this. JoJo did a cover of an REO Speedwagon song, and I have heard about REO Speedwagon before. 2 days ago, when I watched this movie for the second time, I learned that they're a band.
I think that a soundtrack, for the most part, soundtracks in movies exist they're fine. You don't notice them. They don't like stand out, but they're not like jarring. Especially for a horror movie, because sometimes they get like a little heavy-handed with like the tense music. But for the most part, most soundtracks, middle of the line. Okay, some of them are bad and we're playing too much music. I watched a movie recently and I talked about that. I was just like, there's too much. You're doing too much, you know? I got the message. You don't need to play this clip of sound for a minute. We can do 30 seconds and I'll get the point. Some films, the soundtrack is key to what's happening. It kind of talk about like diegetic sound and non-diegetic sound, which is like music that the characters hear diegetic, right? And non-diegetic is stuff we're hearing, but the audience wouldn't. This was all non-diegetic, but what I liked about it, it was a lot of like 80s songs, but like creepier covers of them.
Mm-hmm.
And so like take the JoJo doing the REO Speedwagon cover. It also reminded me a little bit of, I think, the last season of Stranger Things, since we talked about it. They did Kate Bush's Running Up That Hill, and that song was very popular, so everybody and their mother was doing a cover of it online. And I heard like a couple like punk poppy covers. That's the music space I exist in. And I think they like were a good testament to the vibe of the scene. Even though they weren't used in the actual show, it kind of captured the essence of the show, because it's a, you know, it's a spooky show. So same thing here, is they did these covers a lot of times to kind of turn things on its head. And like, yes, it was the music that the characters would have been hearing, but not the version the characters would have been hearing, which I enjoyed. And also something I noticed, more like score-y, I would say, is in the opening sequence when we are like meeting the creature before he dies, he's a piano player. And so there's like obviously like piano playing. That kind of is something that kind of brings him back to life almost, I would say, later in the movie. But something I noticed on my rewatch this morning is he's hiding in the closet, so it's right after he comes back to life. She goes downstairs, Lisa goes downstairs, she gets yelled at by her stepmom, and like her dad's like not stepping in. And she's like, her stepmom's like, either you're crazy or you're goddamn inconsiderate, and I'm gonna, like, basically she's like threatening to send her off to a psych ward. And Lisa goes upstairs and is obviously upset, and she lays in bed, and the creature opens the closet to kind of like, you know, check on her, comfort her, and she like turns her back to him and is crying in bed, and he looks sad and he closes the closet door. But throughout this, there's this very light piano playing in the background, which I thought was nice, and that kind of becomes something that becomes louder and more present the more alive the creature becomes and the more they connect with each other, because then he like plays the piano for her. She sings along very badly. It's very cute, unfortunately. And it just like comes in and out throughout the movie as their connection grows stronger and as he becomes more alive.
Oh, speaking of, there's also one scene, I guess this fits into sound. It's right when the creature becomes back alive, so he's still a little grody, and he's being hidden in the house, and I guess it's just him and the stepmom alone in the house, because Lisa is not in this scene. Mm-hmm. But the stepmom is listening to like a self-help tape on headphones, and it's talking, the self-help tape we hear, and it's talking about how like harmful people will just live right next to you, and you won't even know that there's danger lurking until it's time, and they become really dangerous like right in front of your eyes and you don't even know. And throughout this we see the creature like lurking behind her, and it's hilarious. And
at one point he plays the piano and she like kind of hears it, and she takes her one of her headphones off, and he stops playing, and she's like, oh, must be imagining it, puts it back on. It's also really funny because the self-help podcast starts talking about emotional vampires. And it's like one of those things where it's like she's very clearly the emotional vampire, but she thinks she's the victim of emotional vampires.
If there's one thing she is, it's a victim. Up until the point where she becomes like an actual victim.
Yeah.
And like, it's mean to say that she deserved it.
I'll say it.
Alright. I think let's touch on the tone for a little bit. I think we've kind of said this. It's a very campy film. To me, it's very much a Heathers. It also just kind of feels like a Sabrina Carpenter album.
Yeah.
In the sense that it's light and fun, but it's also like, oh, you're getting murdered right now, but it's still fun.
Yeah.
I also, the movie felt a little bit unbalanced to me. It just, I don't know, I think we had this really great setup, and then at some point it stopped becoming like the Lisa Frankenstein movie and at that point was just like a movie where things had to happen to finish the movie instead of like completing the arc that they set up.
Yeah.
And I mean the tone I think stayed consistent, but in a way where like they set it up and they're like, okay, well this is just what the movie is, instead of kind of letting that setup grow and kind of shift along with the characters. If that makes sense.
I agree with like consistent but shallow. One thing I did enjoy, however, is when I saw some trailers for the movie when it first came out, and I didn't want to watch it because it looked like a film that was trying to take itself seriously, but was entirely too campy to be taken itself seriously. And now that I've watched it, it's not like, it's very tongue-in-cheek. It knows what it's doing. But I agree that like towards the end, especially I think because we lost touch with those kind of cutaway scenes that gave it, they kind of added some levity to the campiness almost, because like we're in the present day, it's very colorful, it's very bright, it's like a little ridiculous, and then you get these scenes that are very touching and look like they belong in a silent film and kind of add the emotional depth that it could use. We lose all of that in the middle. So any sort of emotional work that's done, there's one scene in particular where they're lying in bed and she's talking about like her mom being dead and like how that's, you know, she's like, people suck and it's hard and life, you know, life sucks, and like basically like no one understands how she's feeling and no one tried to understand how she was feeling. And at first I was like, this feels like really out of place in the rest of this movie. Like this could have been communicated through another scene, another black and white scene, which is what we had been using as an emotional device up to this point.
And it felt like, I don't know, it felt like we weren't shown or told why, like kind of what led to Lisa becoming an active participant in the murders. Like we know that she got groped by this man and then killed him for groping her, but like we have to make that connection ourselves, which is fine, and it's not, because I think there is a way to do that makes it feel like you're talking down to the audience. But they didn't tell us anything. They just put the two scenes right next to each other, and I don't know, I can buy that she's this moody, dark, misunderstood, grief-riddled teenager, but I would have liked just a little bit more to kind of show what in her pushed her to become an active murderer.
Yeah, because it, like, we do get told, but it's after the fact, and I think that she was very clearly, like, not in reality when the movie started. Like, she was just detached from it, understandably so, because of everything that's happened to her. And I felt like the creature was someone who was bringing her almost back to reality, so it didn't make sense that her being brought back to reality would lead her to behave in a way that she was murdering people. I feel like if she had kept that detached effect, then her being like, oh my god, I'm living in a rom-com and life is, like, her being like, yeah, let's murder some people, because it didn't, like, it wouldn't have felt real to her, almost, would have made sense. But she was being grounded by the creature, but acting in a way that was not grounded. And I think, actually, Heathers does this pretty well, where the first time they kill someone, Veronica, like, understandably is freaking out at JD. She's like, I can't believe we did that. We're gonna get in so much trouble. Why would you do that? And he was like, coming from a place of love in his twisted little mind, he was like, she was being mean to you, and I just wanted to make you happy, and like, we're in this together now, okay? So you gotta write a suicide note and fake it, okay? And as they go out throughout, Veronica does become an active participant, but in a way that feels, one, she's not like 100% committed to it either, and two, it does feel a little bit like she's being manipulated by JD. Whereas here, it was just like, Lisa almost takes the blame at one point, because she says something about murder. She's like, this is all your fault, we're gonna get caught. She's talking to the creature a little later in the movie. And she's like, I didn't even want to kill Janet. And she goes, it did feel really good though. And like, yeah, I guess it was kind of my idea to kill Doug. So like, that's when they're like telling us kind of how she reached that conclusion. but I agree we should have been shown first.
With Heather's, I think kind of a key point there is that we see that relationship between Veronica and JD kind of, we see their, we kind of see how they as a unit go from he's gonna kill everybody to like, well, she's kind of gonna help.
Yeah.
And then she's gonna start helping more. We don't really see their relationship grow at all, which is crazy because their relationship is the whole movie.
It was also really funny because I was watching it and I'm like, okay, obviously they're the couple, and like for the first half of the movie that he's in, she's like talking about the crush she has on this other guy, and he's just sitting there like I think we get to see a lot of how he feels and how his feelings develop, and also if his happen on a more rapid scale, it makes sense because he's been dead for years and like this is the only person he sees and talks to, and also she kind of brought him back to life, you know?
Yeah, it feels, well, I'll get into this later. Okay, let's talk pacing. You know how there's a point where you learn that Romeo and Juliet went from like meeting to dying in 2 weeks?
Yeah.
These people went from meeting to kill. This whole movie took place in like a weekend, in a way that is crazy.
Yeah, but also I have to say though, the tone and pacing, while I agree they had some issues, for the movie that it was, it made sense because I think if you view everything from Lisa's living in a rom-com and that's just like not congruent with the rest of the world, it makes sense because she's not there.
Yeah.
I do think they could have done a better job at showing us the ways in which she was not there. I think that's kind of the issue. But you do have to suspend your belief a little bit more than I would like to for a movie and just be like, yeah, she's just not there.
I think we could have even gotten, I mean, the timeline of the movie didn't need to increase, but even if we got some more scenes where we saw their bond as a couple develop a little bit more, and we do have some moments where we see them genuinely connect, but like, I don't know, cut the ugly outfit montage for a little montage of, them talking or her saying more things to him. I don't know, it felt like I couldn't really tell why she liked him beyond he was there.
It was
and
very much
wasn't sleeping with her stepsister.
Yeah. It was very much he fell first, and in a way, again, I understand how he got there, and she was like, "Well, you're the first person who's ever like listened to me and cared about my feelings." And I do, to be fair, I think I don't mind it because that kind of goes back to some of the themes we're going to talk about. But it's like, yeah, it doesn't make sense, but if she had maybe been validated prior to this point, this wouldn't have happened, you know? We wouldn't be pining after a dead man in a cemetery.
Yeah. I do think this whole movie could have been saved if, like, one person liked her. I'm so sorry.
Just said, hey, are you alright?
I think you saying that Lisa was living in a rom-com does change things for me. Because from that perspective, it makes things make more sense. But still, I just kind of got the feeling that beats in this story happened because that's what happens in a story, not because that's where the characters led us.
Yes, because as the audience, we're not watching the rom-com. Or like, we're watching a slasher film, but from the point of view of the slasher who thinks they're justified. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But we're watching a slasher film. We're not, so like, it doesn't work for us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm not falling in love with this zombie corpse. Well, I was a little bit, but in a different way.
Hello, it's my time to shine.
It's Kalina's time to shine.
So, we like to break down themes. So, one of the themes I picked for this movie was, I called it weird girlhood, because it's kind of a combination. I try to like make them overarching. And it's a combination of being a weird girl and also like just girlhood in general. So weird girlhood, which is what we were just talking about, validation of feelings. I think being a girl, being a woman, back to our misogyny point, your feelings aren't validated. You're just, oh, you're emotional because you're a woman. Like, just the things you like aren't taken seriously. We talked about this a little bit last week with like boy bands, One Direction, 5 Seconds of Summer. Like, they're discredited because they have largely female fan bases, things like that. And in this specific scenario, it's Lisa, trauma aside, which is another issue, but like the trauma of losing her mother and like no one checking on her at all. And also something I think we forgot to mention is her mother got murdered. 6 months later, her dad's married to this new lady. So like, there's no like, even if her mother hadn't been murdered, they just got divorced or whatever, right? That's a quick turnaround to be married to this lady who like very clearly does not like you. And so like, the weird girlhood comes into play because she's just odd. I'm sure losing her mother, like, we don't see how goth, I guess, Lisa is before the events of the film take place. We get the one scene where her mom is being murdered, so like, we can't really tell what her personality is like, you know? But she's just an odd girl. And I think the clearest example of weird girlhood as a theme is how her dad is like so detached from her, doesn't care what's going on, but he's really, really into and like supportive of her stepsister Taffy. And Taffy, on paper, is like, she's like a cheerleader, she's popular, she's nice, she's cute, she gets invited to parties. And she like, I do think she like loves Lisa, and she's like, in her mind, Lisa's friend, you know, she's trying to do her best. She's like a little out of touch. We see a scene when they go to the party at the beginning where she like walks up to her friend. She goes, "Oh my god, you got rid of the bangs." And she goes, "I wasn't gonna say anything, but they looked really bad. But you look a little much better now." Like, things like that. Like, she's being nice in her own way. And she's the only person throughout the movie, besides the creature, that I think is trying to support Lisa, but her support is a little backhanded, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, I think she definitely thinks of herself as Lisa's friend, and it would be understandable from just the whack job of her mother that she wouldn't have the tools to necessarily connect. There's a quote that I think I have somewhere in this slide, but Taffy is talking to her friends about Lisa, and she's like, yeah, her mom got murdered, but then 6 months later, her dad met my mom, and it's great because he got a new wife and Lisa has a mom again. So I think it's very telling of Taffy, which is an insane name for a woman, does think that having a family again should fix Lisa. I think in the same way that Taffy is letting this stepdad kind of just be her dad. There's also a part where Taffy says where Lisa doesn't want to go to a movie with everybody, and Taffy goes, well, we can't Brady if we don't bunch. And she's very like, if Lisa would just act normal the way that I am acting normal, Lisa would not have these problems. Yep. But instead, Lisa's a weird freak, and so now I have to figure out why she's being a weird freak when she should just be like me and just accept that she has a new family and her mom is dead and that's fine, move on.
Yeah. I wrote down, there's this quote about, it's you know how they say like it takes a village to raise a child? There's like, I think it's an African proverb, could be wrong, but it says something about like the child who like never felt the warmth of the village will burn it down to feel the warmth. And it's kind of like that. It's like, okay, yes, I agree with Eleanor's point that it's a little confusing how we got to the point where she's mass murdering everyone in a matter of days, if not literally hours. But at the same time, it's like, no one up to this point has validated her feelings. Taffy supports her. Taffy wants her to do better. Taffy believes in her. But Taffy at the same time is like, yeah, but you got to get over, like, whatever has happened to you.
I think it also would have been nice to see more of like the like how the rest of the school feels about her. I mean, we know through Taffy that, you know, I get kind of the sense that she's the queen bee and then Lisa is like just the complete polar opposite to her in that she's the the runt of the litter, if you will. But like we don't really see how Lisa is perceived widely. We just get told it in a
Yeah.
way that, I mean, we find the conclusion, of course, but I don't know. It felt shallow, but it also was like Lisa also canonically was mute for an amount of time, so it does make sense. And not that like her trauma informed or her trauma related mutism is something that she could have fixed, but like people wanted her to try harder and she literally couldn't.
I also think, just to, like I said, grief and the weird girlhood are interconnected as a theme in this movie, but I think the thing that highlights the girlhood aspect of it the most is when she finds her stepsister in bed with her crush. Her crush is like, she described her, he's like early in the movie, she's like, he's kind of cerebral. He's like the editor of the literary magazine for the school. He wears a leather jacket with like spikes. You know, he's like just a little bit off the popular track, right? And throughout this, the stepsister's like, I just don't get what you see in him. So when Lisa finds the two of them in bed together, she overhears them talking at first, and he's just like, you know, I like love how you are, and this and this. And the stepsister says to Lisa when she walks in on them, like, most guys only want me for one thing, but like he doesn't, right? He like sees me as a person. And Lisa has this speech where she's like, you want it. She says to the guy, she's like, what you don't, because the guy says to her, it would never work out between me and you, Lisa. I don't see you like that. And he calls her kiddo, which I want you to remember that for a second. He's like, kiddo, that it would never work out between you and I. And she goes, why? Because I'm not sweet and simple like Taffy is. She's like, you like these cool things, but you want to be cool, and you want to be the cool one. You don't want your girlfriend to be cool. And she goes, do you know how uncool that is? And kind of like, Lisa and this crush, Michael, like the same things, but whereas Michael is being rewarded for it in a way, Lisa's been ostracized for behaving essentially the same way. Yeah, she's a little weirder. That goes back to the grief thing. But she like has this unconventional style and taste in things, and no one appreciates that about her. But it's so nice when Michael Trent, Trader Joe's boy, does it, you know? But the point I wanted to bring up about the kiddo was on the rewatch I noticed, because I realized I'd heard it before. In that scene, he calls her kiddo, says it will never work out between the two of us. At the beginning of the movie, when she's drugged and her lab partner is helping her upstairs, he goes, "Oh, come on, let's find you someplace to sit down, kiddo." So I thought that was interesting that they gave them both that same little name for her.
I did not catch that.
It's like how important, like again for a normal teenager, how important it is to feel seen. And I think on a large scale, at some point in your teens, regardless of gender, you feel unseen, and ideally you find those people who help you feel seen. But she's been so isolated that she's just clinging on to this one person that makes her feel seen. And also, on top of that, I think we said this when we talked about Jennifer's Body. Being a teenage girl is hard. I think it's harder for girls to feel seen.
Oh yeah.
Than it is for a teenage boy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and a lot of times, Eleanor said how we're not really shown how the rest of the school feels about Lisa. We're just told. But the few times we do see it, or we are shown, is like one time Taffy asks her friends if one of them will drive Lisa home because she's gonna leave school, and they all like kind of like, you can tell they don't like her and they don't want anything to do with her. Yeah. So like, and then the other person is the girl that drugged her at the beginning. So both times we see how people feel about Lisa, it's women, and it's not a positive thing. Whereas even though Michael Trent, the crush, didn't end up liking her, he did like give her some sort of positive energy. Hello, this is editing Kalina. Apparently, while we were recording, my camera decided it had had enough. So the last 30 minutes of my footage just don't exist. So I will be chiming in from here in response to whatever we're talking about, just so, we can finish up the episode. I think we made some good points. You made it this far, so you deserve a proper ending. But I'm going to disappear from the screen if you're watching this on YouTube. That's why, if you're not watching this on YouTube, it should sound pretty much the same, but it's going to be a very Eleanor heavy ending, let's say. So I will send you back to Eleanor now. I will
speak to you shortly, I'm sure.
But you're right, I did forget about the driving scene. The girls instantly get like,
Okay, I just want to know what you mean on the slide you have here. You said they aren't evil in a JD from Heather's
oh,
way, which makes
oh,
Lisa
just
more off-putting.
in the sense of you could really tell JD's motivation, and just I think the motivation is a little bit muddy in this film. I kind of view Lisa as the JD in this scenario, because to me the creature, in a similar way to Veronica. As a side note, I have not seen Heather's for about 4 years, so I could also be wrong here. But to me, I kind of viewed it as the creature was more following. I know he like killed the stepmom first, but it felt like he was more following her lead than her following his lead in that
You know
way.
what? I do see your argument because I would still argue the creature's JD, and I think they like subscribe to the same brand of romance essentially.
Yes.
JD was going to murder people regardless of if he met Veronica or not, right?
Oh,
But like
absolutely.
just having Veronica gave him like specific people to turn that attention to. But the creature, yes, murdered the stepmom, but it wasn't planned. It was like very much a like in the moment sort of thing. All of that being said, our next theme
Uh,
is
okay.
grief, which I do think then ties into,
Oh, I
which is really the driving
think
force of this movie, I would say.
it's just so sad. Lisa loses her mom and nobody loves her. There's a scene where Lisa comes home from work and everybody is sitting at the kitchen table and there's a box of pizza and there's one slice left, and I think it's her dad is like, "Oh yeah, there's some pizza left. Come eat pizza." And then they open it and it's a piece of pizza that's covered in sausage. And the dad's like, "Oh yeah, I think there's a little meat on it." And the stepmom's like, "It's fine. She can just pick it off." And Taffy's like, "Well, I said we should get you a veggie supreme, but there was a coupon." And like, nobody loves her. There's also a part, so when the stepmom gets murdered, it's the day that she was supposed to go to some like conference. So she was supposed to be gone for a weekend anyway. Um, and Taffy tries to call the hotel where her mom is, and of course she does not pick up because of she's murdered. Um, and Taffy and Lisa are talking about, I don't remember what they're talking about, but at one point Taffy goes, "You don't have anything to worry about because your mom has already been murdered." And it's funny because so has Taffy's mom, she just doesn't know it yet. But it plays as like every girl is just waiting for their mom to get murdered, and then once their mom gets murdered, then they can kind of start the rest of their lives. It's very weird.
Grief, like as a theme in this movie, while it's such a driving force, does kind of connect to a larger theme of
Everything.
just women's feelings and how they're not validated and this, which kind of also connects back to that girlhood topic we were talking about earlier. But it's very much like your grief is inconvenient to us because it's not
Mm-hmm.
like subscribing to these standards we set for you, or you're very much in our face and you're making it hard for us to just lump you in with women. And I think the like actually the clearest example of this, like how grief and women's feelings are invalidated and inconvenient to society, is when the creature first shows up at Lisa's house and she runs outside to escape from him, and she's like her sprinklers are on and she's running around screaming her head off, and her neighbors don't look up to pay her any mind. They're just like, "Oh yeah, that's the new neighbor girl. She's really weird and odd and loud."
See, I put a little note about that scene as well. They live across the street and they are literally in their yard facing her, like reading the newspaper. All they had to do to see what was going on with this girl who is screaming her head off is that's they just had to look up, and then they would see her get followed by this crazy man. And like nobody cares to, because she's weird. She's a weirdo. Have you ever seen her without that hat on? Additionally, I I liked what you said about like needing to process emotions. I think that is part of why Lisa says that time is the wound, because she's still stuck there because no one has given her the time, space, or tools to process what happened at that time. And so because of that, the time is the wound, because I'm sure every day she wakes up just reliving the fact that she was trapped in a closet while her mom got axe murdered. And like nobody gives a crap, which is so just awful.
And it's not even like so much on Lisa's fault, but no one has let her go through this emotion of grief, so it just lingers, which makes her weirder and odder by society standards, thus making her more inconvenient and seemingly difficult. And like someone should have just hugged her or like asked her if she was okay one time. But unfortunately the only person that did that was the creature. Hence why they went on a mass murder spree.
Yeah, it's very like everyone else wants Lisa to be normal because they don't know how to handle that she's not normal. And instead of being like, oh, well, maybe she's not normal because of all the murder that she had to listen to her mom have, we should just shame her into trying to be normal. And it's like, well, maybe we don't go marry somebody 6 months after your wife gets axe murdered.
Dude, if I was reading this story on Reddit and it was like, hell, my daughter doesn't get along with my new wife that I married 6 months after I got divorced, no one would be on that man's side.
Yeah. Even if it's just a normal divorce, like, that's such a quick timeline. And it's also very telling of like, Taffy and her mom, that, like, this man moved in, and now they're a big happy family, and so they just need to be acting like a big happy family, because now there's a dad and there's a unit, and come on, Lisa, get with it.
One slightly more subtle point I noticed is that Taffy calls her stepdad dad and her mom throughout the movie.
Daddy.
Yeah, she calls him daddy and her mom, and Lisa exclusively refers to her stepmom by her name, Janet, which is fair. I don't blame her. But like another example of how, like, come on, just get with the mold and stop being difficult.
And I think it's also very interesting that the second the mom goes or the stepmom goes missing, and like the second Taffy learns about her mom's disappearance, her entire vibe changes. Like, she also goes through a very quick change, I'm sure in the same way that Lisa did. And instead of using that as a moment to be like, oh wow, we both lost our moms, it's literally, well, your mom was already murdered, so you should have gotten over this. It's my turn now. Thank you so much. And also, one of the very last scene, actually the last scene of the film, is Taffy and the stepdad going to Lisa's grave. Oh yeah, sorry. Lisa kills herself in the tanning bed.
It's very cute. She leaves him a note that says, "Death is temporary. I'll love you forever."
Yeah, and she drew a little lightning bolt, which was just really cute.
Unfortunately, this was a surprisingly romantic movie, which I should have known going into it. But then we see her tombstone. So when he got buried, right, his tombstone said unmarried, which, crazy thing to put on someone's tombstone. So when they buried her, he made sure that he...
No, I'm building to something, Kalina.
I will just leave you with the fact that he had to be electrocuted in a tanning bed every time to come more to life. I think he should have gotten tanner every time they electrocuted him in said tanning bed.
He just got more human.
He should have been like a different color.
I think he should have been like hate crime orange by the end of it. Anyway, they go visit her grave, and they're each holding a bouquet, and Taffy is wearing the rosary that belonged to her mom, which I think is a cute little moment. And the dad is like, well, we came. Hi, Lisa. Let's go see your mom now. And Taffy leans down to put flowers on the grave, which we see has been struck by lightning. And what does it say on the grave?
It said, "Beloved wife."
Yes, it says beloved wife. And Taffy's looking at it, and she's like, what is going on? And the dad's like, what? And Taffy goes, nothing. Because this doesn't matter.
You know what, actually, now that we're here recording, I've decided that the dad is the villain, and everything is his fault, and that's the true message.
It is. Everything is his fault. I think if he had hugged Lisa once after her mom died, she wouldn't have done this. Kalina, do you have? I have a final question to end on. So if you have any topics or thoughts you would like to say now, please say them now.
I have nothing to add because this is me recording in the future, and I'm tired.
How many busted tanning beds out of 5 would you give this movie?
I'm gonna give it a solid 3 busted tanning beds
I would
out
too.
of 5. Not a scale I've worked on before, so I think after my first watch I would have given it 4 busted tanning beds out of 5. But after our discussions, I do agree with some points you made. You kind of helped articulate what I felt was missing, so that definitely bumped it down to 3 tanning beds.
It is 3 busting tanning beds out of 5. I loved your take that she was living in a rom-com and nobody else is. I think that's brilliant. It also feels, I think, true to what they were trying to get across. Thank you so much. We'll be back with, I'm gonna be honest, probably not a movie, but something.
Next week is my birthday episode, which means Elanor cannot complain about what I give them to consume for the next
so you'll
episode.
be back with just Kalina.
You can check us out in the meantime on TikTok at Don't Quote Us on That, Instagram at Don't Quote Us on That. We're on Twitter at Don't Quote Us 27. We're not old people, so we're not on Facebook, but we do have a good time, and I think we're very funny.
Correct.
Live, laugh, love.
Live, laugh, love for real. And remember, if your boyfriend wants you to murder somebody, make sure there's a really good reason before you pick up an axe.
No. You just make sure he does all the murdering, so if you get caught, you don't have any liability.
Oh, that's true. Don't talk about it on the phone. Do not talk about it in writing. These are in-person discussions only.
See you next week.
Thank you. Good night.
Thanks for listening. Don't quote me on that. One day we will have an outro, but it's not today.